country, talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. And I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. He's been I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's so good to me. Let me tell you, God has everybody, sometimes, He has set God Almighty, I feel so good. Oh yeah, one more time. Yeah. Every day of my life, I feel it. You give me strength and energy. Help me to sing. He's been good to me. Oh, yeah. This is Reverend Al Sharpton of Brooklyn, New York. I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. And I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me.
Keeping it real. It's Hot Button Monday. And now, America's #1 civil rights leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
You're live, Rev. It's Monday, April 28th. Do you know what time it is? Yes, Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening to us on Sirius XM channel 126. And for you that are watching us live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, we are with you on this Hot Button Monday. Every Monday on this show, we open up the phone lines and the message page on our live stream page. And you can print in messages. And already the mayor, Rodney Jones, mayor of Queensbridge Houses, has said Hot Button Monday, he's on. And Lori Parks from Detroit saw Saturday, she's on. I'm looking at a lot of people just on the message page already. No, I saw Lori Sunday
I'm moving around so fast and get my days mixed up. I was in Detroit yesterday, and met with the steering committee there, some of the people around the August 28th march in Washington. In Wall Street, the anniversary of the march in Washington, and preached at Triumph Baptist Church. Had a great trip. We'll talk about it later. But let me urge all of you, whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, it is Hot Button Monday. You can call in or message in at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or message in at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Wanda Hodge is saying Charlotte Gus is saying San Diego, California is on watching. All right, Charlotte. And Wanda Hodge is saying good afternoon. Well, good afternoon to you, Wanda. Let me say a lot is going on. Tomorrow marks the 100th day of the Trump 2.0 administration, his second term, 100 days. And in the first 100 days, he's done everything from deportations to tariffs, to talking about making Canada a 51st state, to saying we need to take over Greenland, to ending DEI, the whole desire to deal with the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and having corporations join them, which started many of us jumping on these corporations, threatening or enacting boycotts. He has put in a budget that would take down Medicaid. He has put a multi-billionaire over Doge to deal with bringing down the budget, starting by firing many federal employees. They're getting ready to bring a budget up. The Republicans in the Congress are supposed to bring it up today, which is going to take some money away from Medicaid and possibly away from the Social Security, all within 100 days. And I didn't list everything. The war in Ukraine, he said he'd solve in one day. Well, it's still going on. He met with Zelensky at Pope Francis' funeral and seemed to act civil this time and asking, why is Putin not doing more? Is he playing me? I think he's been playing you, Mr. President. Nobody want to tell you. So there's a lot to talk about. I really, really want you, give me your hot button issues, whatever's been on your mind and your heart over the weekend. But I also want everybody to give me their opinion of Donald Trump's first 100 days. And I'm getting a lot of people that are saying that I either voted for Trump or I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and they have buyer's remorse. They said he totally went too far. It's totally not what I thought. I was concerned about the economic condition of the country. It's worse under him. Inflation is higher. I'm interested in hearing from you, your views, whether you agree with them or not, and what you're hearing from your neighbors, because I'm getting a lot of people saying, I wish I hadn't supported him, or I wish I had voted more in terms of voting for Vice President Kamala Harris. And the polls reflect that. The polls are showing that he has the lowest approval now of any president in the first 100 days than any president in the history of the country. And I think that it is absolutely indicative of the people I'm getting. People stop me in the street and say, yeah, I voted for him, but I wish I hadn't. And brand new ABC Washington Post Ipsos poll has Donald Trump lowest approval rating of any president. Just 39% of folks approve the job he's doing, while 55% uh, disapprove. Now, it's worse than his numbers in 2017. He had low numbers then. It's worse than that. When you talk about the economy, where Trump promised he'd be the king of growth, 73% say the economy is in bad shape, and 72% believe his policies are going to cause a recession. So that's what the polls are saying. And I can tell you from my own personal talking to people, I believe that to be true. Talking about Kamala Harris, she is scheduled to be coming out delivering her first major speech since the election, and she will be speaking and getting back out there. It's going to be very, very interesting. I hope she does say "I told you so." Then we saw on yesterday House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senator Cory Booker hosted a sit-in on the Capitol steps against this new budget that's coming in. Various groups joined them throughout the day. I talked to Senator Booker, I believe it was Friday night, who told me they were going to do it. I had to be in Detroit, otherwise I would have joined them. But that's what we need is action. We need, if it's sit-ins, if it's boycotts, if it's marches, like the March on Wall Street, if it's inside debates, everybody needs to be involved in some way and support in some way getting us out of this mess. Everybody. We all don't have to have the same way of doing it, but we all ought to be doing something. And I think that is, I mean, as you see them deporting, I reported on Politics Nation, they deported a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old kid, both were U.S. citizens. No due process, no determination of nothing, just gone. And when you see all the democratic principles, all of the law procedures being ignored, one day your children will ask, or your grandchildren, what did you do when all of this was at risk? You should be able to at least say I voted, or at least went to one of the rallies or marched, like the Wall Street March. I mean, somebody gonna ask you. I asked my parents. March on Washington. I was 63. I was 8 years old, going on 9 that October. Are y'all going to this march? I asked my parents. And I'm telling you that what you do on the big things that you live in as a result of the big things is going to matter more than anything else you got. Nobody want to see your bell-bottom pants or your platform shoes. That's been out 30 years. Well, would you and I wearing now be out 30 years from now? They don't want to know when democracy was hanging in the balance, when our community was being sidetracked and kicked to the side. Let me put it that way. What did you do? Were you part of anything? Or you just sat around criticizing everybody that was? I was talking to Ben Jealous, not Ben Jealous, Ben Chavis. Ben Jealous also I saw last week, but Ben Chavis was telling me on the phone. Ben Chavis used to be head of NAACP, was a coordinator of Million Man March in 95, and now here's the national Negro newspapers. And Ben said to me, he remember in the 80s when he first come to New York, very prominent minister said, I just don't get along with Al. I don't like his tactics. He's always stirring them up and da-da-da. He said, yeah, but he's out there dealing with the issues. You're not. whether I like his tactics, whether he too loud. They did the documentary on me, loudmouth. Whether he too loud or not, he's out there dealing with it. You're not. Think about it. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Coming back, Hot Bud Monday, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
Ready to march for Mama Z. What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Name?
Mama Z.
Say her name.
Mama Z.
Justice for?
Mama Z.
Justice for?
Mama Z. Mama Z.
Justice for?
Mama Z.
Justice for?
Mama Z.
Justice for?
Mama Z.
No justice! Whose community? Whose community? Whose community? Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
No justice?
No peace.
Mama Z, make some noise for Mama Z.
Mattered because her life mattered. That's how many people's lives she touched.
Yes.
I knew her personally, not just because of the National Action Network, because of what she did in the community.
Thank you for this day that we have with all of her friends surrounding us. Thank you guys for being here and showing the love that Essenia showed to everyone in this community.
One thing I can say, even though I need a second and it's still a fresh wound to me, and me and my grandmother, I'm starting to learn more than I learned ever when she was alive and now. We have to stop the senseless gun violence. Senseless gun violence, and I think it's best you hear it from me because I'm here with her every day. I thank you guys. I thank you. Grandma, I know you're here. Watch me work. Love you.
She's speaking right through you, kid.
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Come here, Lonnie.
My grandma loved Al Sharpton. Any of us got into anything minute, large, anything. She said, listen, you know, what? You said what? What did they say? let me get Al Sharpton. You know who I know? You know the people I know? She don't play about Al Sharpton. So Al, I know you're not going to play about her. Respect and love.
Let me say to the family, her grandson and her sister, Mama Z was special to all of us. She never wanted a big title. She never wanted publicity. She would feed the people in this neighborhood. She would give clothes to people in this neighborhood. Her sister said the day at the rally that she probably fed and clothed the people that ended up shooting her. And let us use this as a wake-up call to all of us that we've got to stop this gun violence in Mama Z's name. We need in Mama Z's name to start bringing our community to where we solve our differences in ways that are peaceful and ways that show our unity. And let this grandson be a symbol to all that have lost their grandmamas and grandfathers and mamas and daddies, that we've got to stop the bloodshed. Let's put our arms around this family as they put their arms around us. You gave us your grandmother. You gave us your sister. Now let's give y'all some peace and dignity. Let's pray. Dear God, we come, we worship you in different ways. But there's but one God. We ask you to give us the vision to see how we get out of this violence and this hate for one another. That in a moment's notice, that we lose the life you gave us. Give us the strength, even in these times of uncertainty, to know that you're a certain God. And give Mama Z her rest now. She worked in these dangerous streets.
Yes, she did.
She served.
Yes, she did.
And her community loved her for that. We thank you for the gift you gave her to us, 61 years. She never made us shame.
That's right.
She never made us have to make excuses for her. And we thank you for the gift you gave us, Mama Z. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Life up. Guns down. Life up. Guns down. Life up. Guns down. Life up. Guns down. Life up. One year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going at Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this. We were in it the day they came at Claudine got. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York, chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, maybe the chairman of the board, maybe the CEO, I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. I said, what do you mean? I said, Donald Trump said, he's going to redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were going to raise the tariff. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff. Well, world, I'm getting calls from Germany at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can watch the show live on live stream and put a message in the message on the message page, and I'll read it on the air and answer it. And that's, of course, at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Well, this marks the Freedom to Learn Week of Action. It's a nationwide effort to defend Black history and the broader fight for an honest, inclusive education. And we have on our live line, first of all, the one and only brilliant Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, who's a leading scholar and civil rights activist, and she's the force behind the concept of intersectionality. And with us also is our friend and brother who heads the National Urban League nationwide, the president and CEO of National Urban League, Mark Morial, who's one of the groups, including the 8 legacy organizations, including National Action Network, that's supporting this week, this Freedom to Learn Week of Action. Let me start with you, Dr. Crenshaw. Explain to our listeners around the country why is it critical to link the fight for Black history education with a broader defense of democracy in America today?
Well, Reverend Al, first of all, thank you so much for having me on again. You know, this is the 3rd year that we've lifted up the attack on our history and on our knowledge and on our perseverance. This year, because that attack has now skipped the rails and has gone on to attack the Black Smithsonian, our museums all over the country, the artifacts of our history and our struggle, we knew it was important that we dedicate the entire week to lifting up our history. And here's what we know. You know, we've been talking about this for 3 years. We've been talking about how the first move to suppress us has always been an effort to take away our literacy, an effort to take away our ability to communicate our history, our experience, taking away our ability to analyze what's actually happened to us and happens to us in the current time. That was just a precursor to what is happening now, which is a full-scale attack on the entire civil rights infrastructure. There's not an accomplishment that we as Black people made from the 60s on that this administration hasn't tried to touch and dismantle. And now that extends to our crown jewel, the Smithsonian Museum for African American History and Culture. So this week, more than any time in the past, we want to show up and show out to say, you cannot take away our memory. You cannot take away what has actually happened. You cannot whitewash what this country has been built on and what we have struggled since the entire time we've been here to overcome. So that's why it's so important. As I always say, if you can't name a problem, you can't fix a problem. They're all about taking away our ability to name our reality, so we have no wherewithal to demand an ongoing effort to dismantle the barriers that keep us from full participation in every aspect of the society.
Now, Mark Morial, from your view as head of the National Urban League, how have these attacks on truthful education impacted efforts to close the racial equity gap across this country?
Very deep, and first of all, Reverend Al, thank you for having me. Always great to be on with Dr. Crenshaw. We go back to the days when we were both activists in the Black Law Students Association. So to see her at the helm of this, she's inspired us, and giving us a pathway to really lean into this issue. It's a few things we should always remember. The entire narrative of American history is predicated on a narrative of Black inferiority, Black lack of merit, Black inability to lead or to produce or to be a full and complete person. And that involves suppressing our history and also torturing the legitimacy and the truth about our history, the truth about slavery, the truth about Reconstruction, the truth about the attacks on Reconstruction. And they continue into this very day where the narrative is to suggest there is no history of racism, there is no inequity or inequality in America. All you all do is just work a little harder, be a little bit more diligent, and you will be able to accomplish and achieve. So that is what this whole movement, this attack on Black history is part of the 2025 movement, Project 2025 movement, and it is permission because now it involves wiping Black history, wiping and correcting truthful history from the website of public agencies. Indeed, I think the ultimate plan is to shut down the Smithsonian Museum of African American History. So this freedom to learn is multidimensional. We saw it in book bans in places like Florida, the purging of books and the censorship in libraries, the cancellation of speakers at various events, and now takes on a national dimension. So that's why you and I and the Legacy 8, the Civil Rights 8 legacy organizations are standing squarely behind and with Kimberly Crenshaw and his Freedom to Learn movement, and in the activism that can take place this week and ending on Saturday in Washington.
Tell us, Dr. Crenshaw, what you want people, how can they weigh in? How can they find out more of what to do this week as we do something every day leading into Friday?
Yes, Reverend Al. So every day we want to encourage people to show up for Black history. So from today until next Sunday, we're asking people to go to a historical site, take a photo, tell us something about that site. We want to flood the zone as much as possible with accurate Black history. Black history is American history, and we need to tell it. On Wednesday, we want folks to join us for a special Under the Black Light webinar called Beyond the First 100 Days, Centering Racial Justice and Black History in Our Fight for Democracy. We'll have, of course, Mark Morial, Siobhan Arline Bradley, Barbara Arnwine, Melanie Campbell. It is hosted by our friends from the Black History Faculty and Research Group. Dr. Kay Rice Whitehead will be moderating it, and it's an opportunity for you to learn everything you need to know about what they're after and why we have to fight for it. We want to also emphasize and play a video for folks, a new video that actually links the struggle historically over history. You know, there was never a time that Black history was uncontroversial, never a time when any of our great historians weren't under pressure and under censorship and under surveillance. So this is old stuff in a new package. We want to make sure that folks know that, you know, when you don't know your history, not only are you bound to repeat it, but people are bound to try to impose it on you.
Is there a website, Dr. Crenshaw, that they can go to?
There is. So go to freedomtolearn.net, which is our website. You can find out all of the information. And, of course, join us if you're in the D.C. area. Join us at 11 a.m. on Saturday at the steps of the City Hall. And if you're any other place in the country that has a Black museum, show up there. Show that we're not going to let them take our history away from us.
All right, and you can go to that website. Let's be involved. We're going to stay in touch all week as we lead into Sunday. Let me thank Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw and absolutely thank my friend and partner, the one and only Mark Morial, president of the National Urban League. Let me take a break. We'll be right back. Hot Button Monday, right after the
If
break.
you understand what faith is, you know, I'm a minister. Faith in the Bible is faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen. If you could figure it out, if you have a guaranteed result, if you have a planned strategic course that won't fail, that's not faith. Faith is when you can't figure it out, but you know it's right, and you're going to do it anyhow. Even if you risk losing, even if you risk ridicule, that's faith. And that is what has been the basis of my activism, is faith. That I believe if you do what's right, it will end up right. So, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My mother was from Dothan, Alabama. Father was from somewhere near Daytona Beach, Florida. Wabassin, I think was the name of the town. They grew up in rigid segregation. They couldn't vote, had to sit in the back of the bus. They came north as part of the migration, thinking they'd find a better way up north. They didn't know each other, of course, met in New York, got married, had 2 kids. I was the youngest kid. Their youngest son lived to be one that sat on the stage when the first black president was elected. To go in one generation, from them not being able to vote, till 2 generations later, their son is working with President Obama, gives me faith. Because they could have said in Alabama, this will never change. It did. It did because people didn't accept it. And just as if I had told my mother, if I was an angel and had flown down to Dothan, Alabama in 1950, or whatever year she moved north, and told her there's going to be a black president one day, she would say I was crazy. You got to be able to see what's not apparently there and make it happen.
I'm Connor Webb. I'm the Speakers Director of the Yale College Democrats. We were so fortunate to have Reverend Sharpton here to join us this evening in New Haven to talk about the cruelty and the iniquity that we have seen celebrated under the second Trump administration, what we're meant to do about it as journalists and as press affiliate professionals and as citizens. So we were just so grateful to have him this evening.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me with other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they gotta open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters who both have come into their home or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I help formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughters started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. Get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. And we're back. It's Hot Button Monday, and a lot of people sending us messages on the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net. A lot of people online. Let me go to the phones first. Let me start the week. It's good, always good to start the week with my dear friend from Chicago, Illinois, the beloved Miss Eunice. Miss Eunice, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Rev. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I missed out Friday, but here I am. You know what I'm trying to understand? Judge Dugan in Wisconsin was arrested. Why wasn't Trump arrested for the pardon of January 6th insurrectionists? Now, I'm not saying Judge Dugan was right or wrong, but it's a double standard. No one should be above the law. And I think Trump is abusing the executive privilege. Do you think that's the case?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of the things, Ms. Eunice, that he is saying and putting into the EOs, the executive orders, is not even legal. And for him, for example, how is he going to put in an executive order or that the Justice Department ought to investigate Act Blue, which is a major fundraising company that has helped a lot of Democratic candidates? Investigate them for what? You report a crime. You don't report people that are politically against you. Say you need to investigate whether or not they're bringing in money from outside sources, foreign sources. Well, do you have an accusation? If I go to the precinct and say you need to investigate Joe because I think he's a thief, first thing I'm going to say is, well, what did he steal? Do you have any evidence? They can't just go knock on Joe's door and say, we got a feeling you're a thief. So, I mean, that's one example of kind of stuff he's doing that is absolutely across the line.
And he has shown us what he is and what he's about. Now, I pray who all say that they don't like what he's doing now, and definitely in the midterm, we must come out strong, Democrats and whoever else. And now they're investigating Tish James, and Pam Bundy is a disgrace. She took an oath to serve and protect and not be the personal attorney for Donald Trump. And I wish you could get Professor Tribe or Luddick on your show to explain this stuff that Trump is doing. You think you could do that?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. That's a great idea.
Yeah, on the weekend show sometime, because they teach the law, but things are getting out of hand. So let's beware and get up and do the work and stop yang-yanging, because we are in dire straits, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And thank you for taking my call.
Always glad to hear your voice, and it's
sure
always a blessing you to kick off the week. Let me go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD 900. Brother Jacob.
Peace be unto you, Reverend Sharpton, and your worldwide audience. You know, just letting everybody know that here in Philly, WURD, excuse me, Sister Sarah Lomax Reese is the owner, and man, we got it going on here.
Oh yeah,
so I just love
she
WURD.
is a giant. Sarah is the real deal. You're right.
And you know this. But look, story trending here in Philadelphia about our Super Bowl champs, the Eagles. They going to the White House. But before I say that, Reverend, now look, these are some of the same people who will deny the Jewish Holocaust, right?
Right.
And I don't see really Jewish people going to worry about that, because they ain't never going to stop teaching that truth, right? And I say, do people think that we, African-American people, we not going to do the same about our 400-year Holocaust here in America?
Right.
My Italian brothers would say to that, are you kidding me? No, man, we ain't worried about that.
Right.
We going to do this. But look, we was thanking New York Giants for giving us Saquon Barkley. Man, we was shouting and dancing, right? To y'all laws, you know what I mean, my man. But look, now they look like they turning on him because of the fact that he played golf with the president yesterday, and took a ride on the helicopter and everything. And so they now, but you know, some Philly fans criticize him for doing that. But wait a minute. First of all, to me, he's a grown man, right? And I have to respect his right to do that. I mean, who am I to tell me? And then that to even talk about, I didn't know this, because I'm going to tell you, Reverend, now, I ain't got time to be in people's personal business like that. But they're talking about, plus he got a white woman. You know, so I don't know if he's married or not, but whatever. But, you know, how can you...
No, let me say this. Let me say this, brother. Jacob, I fight and disagree and feel that Donald Trump is all that and a bowl of grits in terms of being the worst president. But people have the right to disagree. Donald Trump has called, invited me. I would not meet with him, but I don't criticize those that do. If that's what you want to do. As long as you don't come out there advocating something I disagree with, I'll disagree with that. And people marry who they want to marry. People do what they want to do. And I agree with you. I think sometimes we get too deep into if you don't want to deal with somebody of a different race or whatever other issue is, that is your personal decision. People ought to respect that, but you ought to respect other people's personal decisions.
Exactly. And you know, the fact that they hate him, they claim, but see, President Trump do that. One day he likes somebody, next day he don't, the next day, you know, that's wishy-washy to me. So we don't want to do the things that we hate to see in others, man. I mean, come on. And let me say, Rev, now, just like people scared of the LGBTQ community, when you was around Donald Trump, did any evil rub off on you? Did you catch evil? But it's not. You know, because you was around him. You was in the same breathing area sometime with him. So I don't know, man. What you know? Sometimes.
Yeah, but let me say this, Jay. Let me say this too, brother. Jacob, Jalen Hurts, who's the quarterback, is not going to go to the White House. So just like I say, just like I say, people have the right to go if they want to go. They ought not be on Jalen Hurts because he said he's not going, and he's the quarterback. We ought to respect both
Right,
sides.
right. So,
I would be more
yeah,
Jalen Hurts like, because I refuse to go, but I'm not going to attack an athlete if that's what they want to do.
but Reverend Ike, oh my God.
You went back.
Al,
You went back 30
would it
years.
be,
I knew Reverend Ike when I was a boy in
man,
prison.
no. Hey, look, we ain't going to talk about who's sharpest, you know me, because your name is Sharpton, so we ain't even going to go
Reverend
there.
Ike was sharp, though, Doctor.
But you know, I know that. But look, I mean, I myself, I don't like Donald Trump nor his ways. But I'm telling you, I don't play golf. But maybe I'm wrong. But I would caddy for him just to be with him for a while and have his ear, like that Stephen Miller boy and all them crazy people around him. Okay?
Yeah,
I'd
well,
like to
I
have
mean,
his ear.
if you felt it could break through, I know Donald Trump. I met with him down through the years, and I just don't trust him. And I would not put myself in a position to have a photo op with him, and he try to act like I'm on his side.
Yeah.
But I don't down other
I
people.
wouldn't wear that hat.
I wouldn't do nothing with Donald Trump. But thank you for your call. Let me see if I can get.
Thank you, my brother. Pete.
All right, thank you. Let me see if I can get it. Well, I got to go to break. I'll be right back. Coming to everybody, Hot Button Monday, or you can also get on the message line. James Thomas is writing, Rev, I was always taught my grandfather that if you see a copperhead snake in the middle of your yard, don't try to pet it because a snake is never your friend. And that's what I think of Trump. I think you made how you feel real clear, James Thomas. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real.
Who is Al Sharpton anyway?
Hot Button Monday.
Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. That's when Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, came here, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was pastor here now, at Ethiopian Coptic Cross. That was my first hero in civil rights and politics.
As I know here, you're in trouble, where it says about 30% are unemployed. That's why I'm working hard to get this surplus food here. Some of you say to me, well, I'm not like you. I'm not a congressman. I haven't got education. I haven't got work. But you're a human being. And you know what you've got? You've got in your hand the power to use your vote and to use even those few cents you get from welfare to spend them only where you want to spend them.
As I was sitting at my desk doing the radio show, I thought about during one of the commercials. I keep right behind my desk a picture. This photo is Frederica Washington, Bishop Washington's daughter, who I grew up under. Ronnie Dyson, who became a Broadway star of hair, grew up in church with us. And me as a minister doing a Tom Thumb wedding. They used to have Tom Thumb weddings for the kids, teaching us how to have a wedding and to be married. And I was the preacher. I was about 9 years old in this picture. I was already been preaching since I was 4. I keep things around me like that, reminding me of my journey. You have the habit of looking at things to see how far you've come where you started. I was a boy preacher here. Both Frederica and Ronnie have died, and I'm still preaching. I'm still here. I thank God I don't take any day for granted, nor do I take me starting early for granted. Don't take your life for granted. Remember it, chart it, and be grateful for it. The whole Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. It's Hot Button Monday, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message page and write on the message board. Nzinga Masani Manuel just wrote me on the message board. Greetings and happy Monday, Reverend Al and family. I watched your powerful message yesterday at Triumph Church website, Your Detroit Sister. Well, I'm glad you watched it. There were packed standing room only at that service yesterday, and I really enjoyed being at Triumph on yesterday. Let me remind you, every Saturday and Sunday, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton. It's live at 5 p.m. both days, and I try not to have guests that are not in the thick of what's going on and can answer questions about what's going on, what is not going on, and be held accountable. And I try to have experts that will give us what we need to know, not just give me the best sound bite. So I don't want to waste your time, and certainly I'm not going to let them waste mine. So watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. every Saturday and every Sunday. August 30th, I believe it is, of this year, I will have been hosting Politics Nation on MSNBC 14 years, and I only missed one show.
I was on the first 4 years, 5 nights a week. Then we went to weekends, and I only missed one show, and that was because we were flying to South Africa to do the 100th anniversary of Nelson Mandela's death. And by the time I got to the stadium, I did the rest of that show live from Johannesburg. So I take very seriously, because the way they've cut back on a lot of use of blacks in the media, I'm going to try to get the message out as much as I can. Let us also remind you that are in the New York area, whether you're visiting or stay in the area, to join me any and every Saturday morning, particularly this week, as we come upon tomorrow, the 100th day of the Trump administration, and mobilizing for the march on Wall Street and other things going on. Be at the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday, and I'm there. No matter where you hear in the news I'm going, I'll be back in Harlem on Saturday morning. And you that are not in New York can watch it live on Impact Television. And you that want to help us get people, thousands organized for the march, August 28th on Wall Street, you should go and sign up. A lot of people say, I don't know what to say on how to do it. I started last Friday. Every Friday, I'm sending you a message. This is what you should say. This is what you should tell people. All you have to do is sign up at nationalactionnetwork.net, nationalactionnetwork.net, and you can be one to help mobilize people. People talk about, I didn't know I could organize. Just take my script and go to work in your house. You ain't got to get on a bullhorn and a ladder. In your house, in your building, in your church, in your sorority, and get people out. Well, for you that watch Politics Nation, you got to see Antoine Seawright. I had Antoine on. I'm going to have him on often. Did a great job last night at the Politics Nation at 30 Rock. And as always, he is our co-host for the kickoff of the week. Every Monday, he is our co-host. You know him as Democratic Strategist, founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategies, Antoine Seawright. How you doing, Antoine?
Great Monday to you, Reverend Al, and it was good to be with you on set yesterday. I do have a message for you from one of our mutual friends who happened to be one of our favorite governors in this country. He said, even though you on set with Reverend Al, you still can't outdress Reverend Al. So.
You what the kids say, you do all right. You do all right. But thank you for that. Let me ask you, put on your political strategist hat. I don't know anyone that knows the political world better from top to bottom. From grassroots to treetop, you know it, and you deal with the people. Give me your assessment of the first 100 days of the Trump administration, and then give me a two-part question, and then give me how the Democrats ought to message these 100 days.
Well, Red, from a policy standpoint, it's been piss poor. And I say that respectfully because there's not one thing from a policy standpoint that Donald Trump and the Republican majorities in the House and the Senate can point to that will across the board directly impact in a positive way the everyday livelihood or lives of everyday Americans. I'm not talking about Republicans. I'm not talking about those who may be MAGA extremists. I mean, everyday Americans who, as I said last night on your program, those who voted the most have been impacted negatively the most. And so from a policy standpoint, I give him piss poor markings. I would say a D-. From a pure personality standpoint, I think he's doing everything that he promised he was going to do. Unfortunately, personality politics don't cut it in this country. And I think the polling across the board, every single polling that's come out that's measured his 100 days has given him the same kind of markings. He has gone below where he was when he was the 45th president. And part of that is because Americans are feeling right away the impact of his presidency, from tariffs to cuts in the government to laying off of workers to eliminating programs and grants that directly impact not just Black Americans and Brown Americans, but all Americans. And so people are feeling that. The feelonomics of the Trump administration is trickling down. I think Democrats are starting to handle it better. We started off very rugged and rough. I think we were not focused on the central tenet that we should be focused on, and that's microeconomics, my personal economy. But I think we've leaned in and figured out how to deal with his surround and drown or flood the zone effort. And I think we're starting to hit a rhythm, and I think the American people are starting to pay attention in ways they were not before. And more importantly, I think those who voted for Donald Trump, who thought this presidency was going to bring them a different regard, are starting to tune in differently, and they're realizing who's fighting for them and who's fighting against them. With that being said, here's where I caution all my Democratic lawmakers, as I did this morning on the call. We can't look at Trump poll numbers and think that's a total assessment of how everyone feels in the country, or for that matter, in the Republican Party. Trump can't run for re-election. And so it's going to be incumbent upon us to make Donald Trump the biggest political liability we've seen in the history of this country, and make him the albatross around the necks of the Republicans going into 2025 and ahead of 2026.
Do you think that the whole strategy?
We lost him, Rev.
I think we lost him. Let me take a call while we reconnect, Antoine. Let me go to the mayor, Mr. Mayor of Queensbridge Houses, in Queens, New York, Mayor Rodney Jones. Let's go, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon, my shepherd. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Oh, hot button Monday. I have two things. First, Trump grade, I give him an F+. By school you get an A+. I give him an F+.
Wow. That's about as low as you can get.
Trump hired loyalists, not qualified people for these positions. He got rid of generals in the DOD. I mean, Hexas is like come on. You can't compare Lloyd Austin, Hexas to Lloyd Austin. Or Lloyd Austin, a 40-year soldier. I was a veteran. I'm a veteran. But this man, 40 years, 4-star general, to this dude that's good. I mean, come on. Or signal and all. Just nonsense. And they back this dude like this is okay. No, it's not okay. Then you have gutting the government agencies. You're laying people off and not replacing them. What is he doing? I mean, the tariffs, this is craziness. And then my second point is the draft. Like, getting back to the NFL. This pissed me off with Shadoro, Deion Sanders' son. Okay, fine. Okay, they had him at the top of the draft, right? Projected top three. Top in the first round. Fifth round, Cleveland Browns at 144th. He was the 144th pick in round 5. Cleveland had already had 4. They drafted a quarterback earlier in the day in one of the rounds. So now they have 5 quarterbacks on their roster. Most teams only have 3. You have a starter and 2 backups. So what the Cleveland Browns doing? The gatekeepers. I told you about these gatekeepers. NFL plantation owners, Jerry Jones or something. I call them plantation owners. But some of them, like what Jerry Jones told them, if y'all take a knee, I'm gonna suspend you. So if the whole team had to take a knee, who's playing? I mean, come on. I mean, really? If you take a knee, I'm gonna suspend you. So the whole team took a knee. Who's going to get on the field? I mean, this nonsense. Listen, like I said, I taught you earlier last week. I've been watching since the 70s with my pops.
Wow.
Warren Moon didn't get drafted. He had to go play in Canada. They told him, go to play wide receiver. Lamar Jackson, the quarterback of Baltimore Ravens. Guy on TV, Bill Poland, came on TV and said, coming out of Louisville, oh, he's not an NFL-ready quarterback. Because they do the read option where, you can hand it off or run. You can throw it or run. Oh, he's not NFL. This dude has been the MVP of the league. He's won since he's been in the league for the Baltimore Ravens. This stuff with these guys, these gatekeepers, they say certain things, then they talk about his pops. Deion was prime time. He was the top of his game in baseball.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
But I'm saying there's a documentary. If anybody want to watch, it's Amazon Prime, Evolution of the Black Quarterback. You need to watch it because that's the history of our people in the league, about black quarterbacks. Thank you, Rev.
Love you. Thank you for your call, Mr. Mayor. Let me take a break. Coming back to everybody. 1-877-532-5797 or go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and put a message on our message board. Be right back after this.
Dr. Martin King was killed in Memphis, Tennessee. And it has been the commitment of National Action Network to always, in the month he was killed, to let them know they killed the dreamer.
I have a dream today.
They came for the dream.
And I want to be clear, loving your country doesn't mean lying about its history. You want to have a conversation about what makes America great. What makes America great is the uniqueness that this has been a country that is actually, despite a very uneven past, still can have an opportunity for each and every one of you to be here. Still can have an opportunity for the blessing of a Reverend Sharpton. Still can have an opportunity that you can have a person who was raised by an immigrant single mother, a person who joined the Army when he was 17 years old and went to a 2-year college, who can now sit here as the 63rd governor of the state of Maryland. We want to have a conversation about what makes this country great. And so this idea that this is being done because we don't want people to feel bad is a farce. The reason this is being done is because they do not want people to understand their power. Because when you understand your history, you understand that nothing is impossible. And you cannot minimize me because I know where I've come from. And I know who I've come from. You cannot tell me to sit in my place when I know my place is on a higher hill. And so this assault has nothing to do with making people feel comfortable. It's about making them feel uncomfortable, because understanding the true history, it matters.
One year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going to Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this, We were in it the day they came at Claudine got. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year, we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York. Chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, maybe the chairman of the board, maybe the CEO, I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. I said, what do you mean? I said, Donald Trump says he's gonna redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were gonna raise the tariff. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff. Stop telling yourself you're not confident of what you could do. When people with half your skills and a quarter of your talent have gone on to create big waves in life, if you look at them and you know you're more gifted than them, then what is your problem? You are looking for someone to come and drag you into success. You've got to use what you have, which is, in my judgment, more skillful than others I've known in your area. Use that and believe in that, and your confidence will build up as you get going and start doing. And don't chase the spotlight. Sharpen your skills. Live in your purpose. And you'll get so good the spotlight will be chasing you. Be so good they can't help but talk about you and put the spotlight on you. You don't get your energy from chasing the spotlight. You get your energy by chasing your purpose. The spotlight and other adulation will come with it. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. I think it's clear where we back up. Antoine, you were saying that the Democrats should not take the falling polling numbers for granted against Trump. You got to organize, and then we kind of your line drops. So go ahead.
Yeah, Rev, I was going to say Donald Trump is not the most important figure here in this moment. It's the policies of Donald Trump and the people that we've got to make the liability here. Trump can't run for re-election, but we've got to make him the biggest liability going into the elections. But more importantly, we've got to talk about the policy. If you look at every single polling that has come out, Rev, over the past several days around his first 100 days, the one common thread is every single policy agenda item that people say they voted for him during the 2024 election, he's upside down with the American people, not just Democrats, not just independents, but he's upside down with Republicans as well, including the red meat, right-wing, most important issue to them, immigration. He's upside down for the first time during his governing of a presidency, meaning his first or second term, on immigration. That is where we have to lean in and we have to organize not just Democrats, although the base is important, but we've got to organize like-minded individuals around the policies because we will never win when it comes to Donald Trump on personality.
Well, let me say, I think that I totally agree with that.
He just dropped out again. He just dropped off.
And I think that we should go to the phone. Let me see if I can get Ray in from Cincinnati. Ray?
We say, Rev, and hello to your guest. Rev, let me say a couple things. The Republicans are going to they're going to inherit Donald Trump's polling. They're going to inherit all the things that Trump has done. The Republicans are going to inherit that come the midterms and the next the next election. Rev, let me say this. You had a guy not too long ago call you, and he said he would love to be Donald Trump's caddy. Well, I say to him, why would you want to be his caddy when he don't want you living in his apartment building?
Wow.
And I'll leave that at that, Rev. But let me say that this is who Americans are, Rev. Most Americans. You know.
Antoine's back.
I blame the Trump voters for being in this situation. He probably fired and laid off more federal workers than he deported immigrants, Rev. But these are the Americans, Rev. Most people, they need to learn the hard way. Some wanted a failed businessman. You know, most people wanted a sexual assaulter. Some wanted a convicted felon, 34 counts. Some wanted a two-time, he was twice impeached. They wanted that. They wanted a man like that as president. Some wanted an adulterer who cheated on his wife a couple of times with a porn star. This is who Americans are. Make no mistake about it. A lot of them voted for a guy like that. So now they're seeing, you know, everything that Trump has promised, and I agree with your guest, but a lot of things he promised, he's not delivering. You know, groceries are not coming down. Eggs is going up. You know, he didn't make a promise on laying off federal workers. He didn't promise that. You know, we still waiting on the wall from 8 years ago. So this is who Americans are, you know, and people need to realize it. But a lot of things that Trump is doing now, you know, and I don't see anybody, any Republican, even coming close to the presidency next in 2028. You know, just all the things that Trump is doing. And let me leave you with this. I know the mayor was saying something about Shedeur Sanders being drafted by Cleveland. I think personally, it's a good spot for him. Yes, they have 5 quarterbacks, but if you have 5 quarterbacks, you have none. He get a chance to compete, you know, on an equal basis. And that's all as an athlete you can ask for. I think he's in the best position because they don't have a franchise quarterback. And if he is as good as a lot of people think he is or say he is, I think the job is his to lose. So although whether you're the first pick or the 300th pick, your skill set is still the same. And if you are good in college, hopefully that carries over to the pros. And, you know, Main thing is he was drafted, and he'll get an opportunity like everybody else. All right, Rev, enjoy your day.
You there, Rev?
I am. Let me ask you this, Demetrius. I'm going to Demetrius next. Let me ask you before I go to Demetrius, Antoine. When I hear people like Ray, how do we translate that emotion into strategizing and into turnout to vote? Because there's a lot of passion, but how do we network and organize that passion into getting real results?
Well, Red, we've got to go back to the basics of organizing. We've gotten so cute and so granular that we think that it's not, and organizing is not successful unless there's hundreds of thousands of people being bought in or tuned in. Sometimes grassroots organizing meaning going to the basement of a church, like I know you know so well, Red, with 20, 30 people setting out a plan and executing that plan and letting that plan grow. We've got to get back to the basics of organizing our precincts, our households, our communities, our churches, our synagogues, our fraternities, our sororities. We've got to get back to the basic principles of organizing, which may mean small organic organizing, but it's good organizing, and allow that passion and that energy to be harnessed for good, and then allow a groundswell to blow up. And then we can make it granular, and then we can touch many, many people. I get frustrated with sometimes folks in my generation who think that they're not making a splash unless there's some big rally, unless they got thousands of likes or clicks on social media. That's not effectiveness. That's not efficiency either. Grassroots organizing and efficient, effective organizing, meaning when you've made a difference in at least one person's life. And we've got to get back to that basic foundation principle, the ones that I grew up on in politics and the ones that I know you know so well, Reb. And that, in my opinion, starts going back to the church and some of our predominantly African-American grassroots organizations whose sole mission was to organize our communities for good and progress.
No, you're right. That's why, as I said, when I was a youngster, I went to the original meetings. Two guys had come to the ministers of Breadbasket, asking them to put pressure on the private sector, the big companies in New York, who we marching on August 28th, and they would not buy ads. They had these concepts to build a magazine. One wanted to do a woman's magazine, the other wanted to do one on black business. And the one that wanted to do black business worked for Senator Robert Kennedy Sr. and was going to leave his job to do this if we can get the ads. And the women's magazine was Ed Lewis, who worked at Manufacturers Hanover Trust. And the Black Woman magazine became Essence magazine, and the business magazine became Black Enterprise. I was there at the beginning. And I was just 13 years old. So people talk about boycotting. I know how to do this. I've been watching it involved for over 50 years. And it takes more than a press conference and talking to your friends. You got to get down and organize. First, try to meet with folk. See, let them say no. Make them say no. Then hit the streets and say, we tried to do these 5 things. They wouldn't do it. Let's go and take our dollars back. But a lot of us want to leap for the press conference and don't want to do the work. Let's take a break. Be right back. Sharpton, see right. Be right back.
I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Get up. God has smiled on me. I feel it. Then I went on backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Then I went home and I told my mother what Brown told me. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. And that has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I said, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clay Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going gonna do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Lord, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God it was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way. If you just keep the faith and refuse to lose, and God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say
Keeping it real, I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go back with Antoine Seawright. Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio, WERE. Demetrius.
Hey, thank you, Reverend Sharpton. Good talking to you, Mr. Seawright. First off, I'd like to give a shout out to Clifton Davis on the CBS show Beyond the Gates. I give CBS credit too, because nowadays in this climate, when they're really trying to scale back on Black achievement, CBS did put the initiative to put a Black soap opera on when employ a lot of Black actors and actresses. So I would recommend people, to watch the show just to support the Black actresses and actors, especially in that time spot in this climate. And also, I would like to mention the bombing in Yemen. The United States military has been bombing there for the last few days or weeks. But it's been come out that a lot of Black migrants being killed just in that country, working, trying to make a living. So I think the U.S. military, Donald Trump should make sure that innocent people don't get killed who just, they're trying to make a living for themselves. Same way as I feel about the innocent of Palestinians being killed in Gaza. So it's the same approach and the same strategic techniques to be used for the Black migrants in Yemen. And also I'd like to bring attention to the raid that happened in Denver, Colorado at the nightclub where ICE arrested a number of immigrants, supposedly being illegal. But when they do mass sweeps like that, a lot of innocent people get caught up in the sweeps, and if they don't have a right to go to trial, they can be immediately sent to prison or sent out of the country, what Donald Trump has done before. He sent a Venezuelan innocent person to El Salvador. And also it's a disgrace when innocent children, is sent, out of this country. Because I heard of the weekend, one of the immigrants' fathers were willing to keep the child when his mother was sent. But yet the ICE, arrested the whole family. They left the father. He must have been a citizen. He had the proper papers, but they sent the child with the mother. So the father was willing to take the child, and the child was born here in the United States. Child shouldn't be sent. To me, that's just a form of ethnic cleansing, cleaning of racism, just trying to get rid of people of different race or culture from out the country. Because if that could happen to those group of people, it could happen to anyone. Because we all are born in this country. You're a citizen, and you have the right to be in this country, and no one should be falsely accused of not being a citizen, sent out of the country, especially when you have the papers and you're born here. That's in the Constitution. I'm going to come to lastly, Shadil Sanders. I'm glad the Cleveland Browns did draft him. I'm glad Mr. Berry, the general manager, saw his potential, because he shouldn't have dropped that far down in the draft. And it's not a charity draft, because he do have the skills. He has the highest percentage, I believe, of any quarterback and coming out of college. So he should have went in the first round. I believe the owners had some type of conspiracy, because of his family. Because any type of black person, like Deion Sanders, he wanted to be independent. He didn't want to go coach the Dallas Cowboys. When Jerry Jones wanted him, because he said he wanted to stay at the college level because of the professionalism of some of the NFL players and some of the control the owners want to have. So when any black person stands up, some people in certain circles, they feel like, black person don't supposed to stand up. I believe it was a punishment toward him for letting Shedeur Sanders drop that far down in the draft. So I give Cleveland Browns kudos, especially Mr. Berry, for taking not taking the chance, because Shedeur Sanders is qualified to be drafted. He should have went higher. But at least he took the initiative and gave him a chance, equal chance, to show his potential and his qualifications to be a quarterback. If he have a good chance, because the Browns don't have a really standout quarterback. They just have someone just a holdover. But Shedeur Sanders, he have the skills, so he have a good opportunity to show that he should have been drafted at a higher level. All right. Thank you, Reverend Sharpton, for letting me speak. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for your call. Antoine Sam Levine, you just text me, said on X.com that, and Sam Levine says there's a scoop that all the managers in the Department of Justice voting section have been removed, and political appointees have told attorneys to dismiss all active cases without explanation. I mean, this is astounding. I think that it is absolutely goes to the core of the disenfranchisement of Black people and others around the country. Explain the ramifications of this.
Reb, that essentially means, and I don't want to misplain here, as we say down south, but that means pending voting rights and voting investigations, if you will, or cases at DOJ essentially have been dismissed.
Right.
If the scoop is correct. And Reb, I've texted you, I texted Derek Johnson. I'm going to send a note to Mark Mariel. The civil rights organizations, they're going to have to get on top of this ASAP. I've texted Terry Sewell, who's the voting rights champion in the Congressional Black Caucus. This is almost insane and worth filing a lawsuit against, because that means the rule of law when it comes to voting rights in this country essentially goes out of the window. Now, I want to take my time and do my research to make sure that Sam's scoop is correct and make sure we're reading what we're reading. But that can be some scary stuff, considering all the cases that are pending around the country when it comes to voting rights violations and so forth that we've all filed and been a part of because we know we've been mistreated at the ballot box.
No, this is, if it is correct, this is as bad as it gets. And I think that, again, we have no reasons to say there's not a reason to look into this, given the record of Donald Trump, because they've certainly weakened, if not all but eliminated, the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department, closed down the Civil Rights Bureau and other in other departments like the Department of Education. So, I mean, there's more reason to believe that this is true than not. And I think that this could be something that they have in mind to keep their people in office, because if they can minimize people's voting rights and minimize the participation of particularly people in our community, they can keep the Congress and the White House as long as they want, because they have not won, but they've shrunk the voting base. And this is something that they've advocated. But to say that they're not executing it without any recall is scary at best.
Reb, I'm genuinely concerned because that old strategy that goes back age old for the Republicans, if you can't beat them, cheat them. This is what that is in real time. And we know the current Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, has no regard for anything other than her loyalty to Trumpism and Donald Trump. She did it in Florida, and she's going to do it in Washington as the Attorney General. And that's why loud voices, not just black voices, but loud voices who care about the rule of law and care about the right to participate freely at the ballot box must stand up in this moment. It can't be the 8 legacy civil rights organizations by themselves standing up, because this fight is bigger than just the civil rights organizations. This is about America as we know her.
Absolutely right. And wow, this as I said, this is about as strong as it can get. Let me go down message pad. I see Evangelist Ramsey standing up. Some critics said that I never worked a day in my life. Let me calm everybody down getting upset with that. These people are living in another world. Now, it's like I had a guy once, a reporter, once, Antoine, that was traveling with me about 4 or 5 years ago. He was doing a profile on me for a major magazine. And he said, and this little guy, whoever this was on message book that Evangelist Ramsey is referring to, brings him back to mind. He went with me and was at National Action Network with me all day. He didn't meet me early enough to work out with me, but he got with me by 8 o'clock. There all day with me when I did my radio show for 3 hours. Went with me I spoke at a convention that night. And then the next day went with me for my TV show, Saturday Rally, and 2 meetings with a group of ministers and another group of civil rights leaders. And he said, now let me ask you a question. Your critics want to know, how do you make a living? I said, huh? And he asked me again. I said, well, you went with me to National Action Network that has 73 employees that I'm president of. You went with me to a sermon I preached. You went with me to our radio show and TV show. That's 4 jobs. And you gonna ask me how I make a living? I'm asking you, where'd you get your journalism school? I mean, but they don't see what we do as having a job unless we are working for them. That's what they're really saying. If you're not working for us, that ain't a job. Working for yourself, working for your people is not a job. That's all that is. Don't get upset, Evangelist Ramsey. When they talk like that, they're only exposing how they think. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, see right. 1 year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going to Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this. We were in it the day they came at Claudine got. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York. Chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, maybe the chairman of the board, maybe the CEO, I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. I said, what do you mean? I said, Donald Trump says he's gonna redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were gonna raise the tariffs. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff.
If you understand what faith is, you know, I'm a minister. Faith in the Bible is faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen. If you could figure it out, if you have a guaranteed result, if you have a planned strategic course that won't fail, that's not faith. Faith is when you can't figure it out, but you know it's right, and you're gonna do it anyhow, even if you risk losing. Even if you risk ridicule, that's faith. And that is what has been the basis of my activism, is faith. That I believe if you do what's right, it will end up right. So, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My mother was from Dothan, Alabama. Father was from somewhere near Daytona Beach, Florida. Wabasset, I think was the name of the town. They grew up in rigid segregation. They couldn't vote, had to sit in the back of the bus. They came north as part of the migration, thinking they'd find a better way up north. They didn't know each other, of course, met in New York, got married, had 2 kids. I was the youngest kid. Their youngest son lived to be one that sat on the stage when the first black president was elected. To go in one generation, from them not being able to vote, till 2 generations later, their son is working with President Obama, gives me faith. Because they could have said in Alabama, this will never change. It did. It did because people didn't accept it. And just as if I told my mother, if I was an angel and had flown down to Dothan, Alabama in 1950, or whatever year she moved north, and told her there's going to be a black president one day, she would say I was crazy. You got to be able to see what's not apparently there and make it happen.
I'm Connor Webb. I'm the Speakers Director of the Yale College Democrats. We were so fortunate to have Reverend Sharpton here to join us this evening in New Haven to talk about the cruelty and the iniquity that we have seen celebrated under the second Trump administration, what we're meant to do about it as journalists and as press professionals and as citizens. So we were just so grateful to have him this evening.
No justice, no justice, no peace, no justice, no peace. What do we want? Justice. What do we want? Justice. We are
trained, best educated, best equipped, best prepared troops refuse to fight. Matter of fact, it's safe to say that they would rather switch than fight.
Another summer. Sound of the funky drummer. Music hitting your heart, cause I know you got soul. Hey, listen if you're missing, y'all. Swinging while I'm singing. Hey, giving what you're getting. Knowing what I know in. While the black band's sweating. In the rhythm I'm rolling. Gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey, our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. 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 We got to fight the powers that be. As the rhythm's designed to bounce with calcium that the rhyme designed to fill your mind. Now that you realize the prize arrives, we got to pump the stuff to make it tough. From the heart, it's a start, a work of art to revolutionize, make a change, something strange. People, we are the same. No, we're not the same, cause we don't know the game. What we need is a way.
As I was sitting at my desk doing the radio show, I thought about during one of the commercials. I keep right behind my desk a picture. This photo is Frederica Washington, Bishop Washington's daughter, who I grew up under. Ronnie Dyson, who became a Broadway star of hair, grew up in church with us. And me as a minister doing a Tom Thumb wedding. They used to have Tom Thumb weddings for the kids, teaching us how to have a wedding and to be married. And I was the preacher. I was about 9 years old in this picture. I was already been preaching since I was 4. I keep things around me like that, reminding me of my journey. You have the habit of looking at things to see how far you've come where you started. I was a boy preacher here. Both Frederica and Ronnie have died, and I'm still preaching. I'm still here. I thank God I don't take any day for granted, nor do I take me starting early for granted. Don't take your life for granted. Remember it, chart it, and be grateful for it. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Antoine, last night on Politics Nation, when I raised about the midterms, you quickly said, yes, but let's not forget about the races this year in 2025. What are the key races that we ought to be looking and watching and looking at, and what can we say to people that are listening that they ought to be aware of what's going on in their particular city or state or district?
Reb, I'm going to follow my own advice and get back to the basics. I think more importantly, every single person that listens to this program needs to go online and figure out whether or not they have an election this year where they live, whether it's dog catcher, school board, governor, AG, or whatever it is. It's important to check that. When I got off the air last night, I checked my email, and I had a couple emails as well as social media hits saying, how do I find out if I have an election this year or not? So I think it's important, Reb, that we help people understand to find out if they have an election in their community. Chances are there is a mayoral election or a school board election or some type of hyper-local election in communities all around this country this year. This is the year where most of our mayors, city councils, county commissioners, and school board members are up for re-election, particularly in the African-American community. So I think we've got to start there, hyper-local, Reb, because I think that's important. And then there's some states, Virginia, New Jersey, that have statewide elections from governor on down to secretary of state which becomes even more critical in this moment if you think about what they're doing at the Department of Justice when it comes to voting rights. So I think we've got to focus our efforts and our attention there. What's happening right now, Reb, is that all these town halls and listening sessions are happening, but I think we, people of goodwill, have to make certain that we organize and start to take that energy and harness it for good as we barrel towards the fall, because we can't wait till October or November and try to figure out who these people are who came to these town halls and all these other things and try to get them to come out to vote. We need to start organizing them now, precinct by precinct. Reb, I plan to have a meeting in the next 2 weeks where I'm going to hope to implement a national strategy that Jim Clyburn and I have been doing for a very long time called Adopt a Precinct, asking all of our organizations, whether you're a church, a civil rights organization, sorority, fraternity, to adopt precincts all around the country so we can organize this country precinct by precinct. So when it's time to turn out voters for early voting, we already have the data. We know who these people are. We know who's registered. We know who's not. And all we've got to do is turn them out at the ballot box.
Let me read from our message board. Navigator Lewis says, we are calling from Birmingham, Alabama, but you've not answered. This is Pastor Tommy Lewis. Now, that's a legendary pastor from Birmingham. I don't know why y'all ain't picking up the line there, because I'd certainly like to hear his comments on the air. Tommy Lewis, activist and pastor extraordinaire in Birmingham, Alabama. Let's go to Percy Johnson on the line. Percy was at church with me yesterday, front and center, had on a bad three-piece suit. Percy, I was glad to see you yesterday.
Hey, you rubbing off on me, Reverend Al. You rubbing off on me. I got a 3 up just like you be 3 up. You know?
You was 3'd up yesterday, and they was packed in there, but I saw you.
Yes, sir. So the gentleman that just spoke is spot on with precinct, talking about precinct by precinct. But I'm going to put us another suggestion on that, how we need to encourage our youth, 18, to start signing up to be precinct delegates and being a precinct delegate in their community and reaching out and talking to the residents in their precinct and in their block, in their street, to get their name on the ballot, and also getting familiar with the people that are in their block that are voting, and encouraging them to be informed when elections are coming up and that they participate in these elections. And it's so easy to be a precinct delegate, you know, and this is what we really need to encourage our youth to be more engaged with that, because I feel who knows the block better than our teens do, and who knows more the type of resources that they should have, so as they get older, that they can have the elected officials to bring the training, the programs that they need to have in their community that are tax dollar funds. And also, we need to be talking now, 5 years out, of encouraging our people to be prepared to fill out these census. You know, then I want to say one more thing too, man. I got to brag a little bit about your daughter, man. Your daughter, after you left King Solomon's church, after you left to go, because you had to go and do your radio show, and she stepped up and brought to the pulpit to inform us how we will be getting ready. Oh, and did she talk to you about what I told her to get ready for the buses to go?
Yeah.
On the 20. Okay. Well, please, follow up on that.
Definitely. I
got it on my end. You get it on your end with who I suggested for you to talk to, and so we can get more buses, coming for that on the 28th. But look, man, she spoke so well, Reverend Mel, and she said, I really don't like coming up here talking a lot, but she really lined us up and presented herself and got it. She listened to the history of the King Solomon's Church. She spoke on how this was the church that Malcolm X presented the bullet on the ballot.
Yep.
How that judge that that
Thurgood
used to be the
Marshall.
Supreme Court.
Thurgood Marshall.
Was at that church too, and Martin Luther King. And so she listened to the history and said she didn't know that was going on, but she spoke on it, and she just spoke on how this is our call. This is on us to get out here and participate. So she called us into action, man, and she just did a good job, man.
That's Ashley, my youngest daughter. I have two daughters, and a lot of people know Dominique because she sits in on the show for me. But that was Ashley with me in Detroit yesterday, and she's the one leading the youth huddle. She's got younger people running it, but she is definitely a fireball. I'm so proud of Ashley and Dominique.
She is paying attention, and she presents herself quite well. So I hope she can hear me. Tell her to continue doing what she's doing, and she did a fabulous job. But now, while I was sitting there in the front row, Mel, I really thought about, old saying that the Indians used to say about the buffalo, and it made me think about you and Nan. So, the Indians have said that buffaloes, when they see a storm coming, when they out in the field and they see a storm coming, they don't sit and wait for the storm to come to them and go over them and past them. They move to the storm and go through the storm because the Indians were saying they know that if they go to the storm, that they gonna get through the storm faster instead of waiting on the storm to do what it's gonna do and go past them. And that's what you do with Nan, Ramel. You don't wait for stuff to come to us. When you see a problem, y'all go after it and address it.
You got to take it head on.
If you need a mascot in your Nan organization, choose the buffalo.
I like that.
Use the buffalo.
I like that. I like that a lot. You're going to hear that one, Percy. I like that.
But it was good seeing you there, and it was good being in that church. So, Kimlock, man, I got to say, man, I'm really glad that he's putting his hand in the ring because he is one that I feel that is really connected with the generation that we're pushing, that we've been hurting with to start participating civically. And with his past experience and his past service that he has done unconditionally with the service he's done, he's got a draw of the crowd that we've been hurting with to come out and turn out and start being more civically engaged.
Yeah.
I really feel he's going to be the one that's going to help the turnout turn up.
He has several churches, and all of them, I think, seats 1,500. And I did the one that you at in Southfield, and they all packed, and they're all young people. I was amazed out of the people that packed that church yesterday. Maybe 2/3 of the crowd were young, like under 40. So he has a great following and a great understanding of how to put the church and the movement together. That they're not inseparable. So I was very impressed by him.
And that's what we surely need. So I have watched previous, folks in the ring, but they haven't been able to reach this crowd that he's got.
Right.
So I'm just, that's why I'm really excited about him being in it. And I really feel that that's going to help turn out our turn up, which we surely need as our Black generation needs. For me, we vote right. We just got to start building back up to the strength that we have of being civically engaged and turning out more and bigger numbers.
And work with those young people that can deal with their peers, like Antoine. That's one of the reasons I like to kick off my week with Antoine. A lady texted me last night, said, Antoine Seawright, I saw him on the show, and he's very good, and he's a young man. Does he shave yet? I said, well, I don't know if he shaved yet, but he's kind of young. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Seawright, be right back.
people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God doesn't smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I went home and I told my mother what Brown told me. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then, the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I said, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Clay Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way. If you just keep the faith and refuse to lose, and God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has found me. He has set me free. Let me sing here. Yeah, Lord. Yeah, Lord.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. That's when Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, came here, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., who was pastor here now, at Ethiopian Coptic Cross. That was my first year when civil rights and politics.
As far as I know here, you're in trouble, where it says about 30% are unemployed. That's why I'm working hard to get this surplus food here. Some of you say to me, well, I'm not like you. I'm not a congressman. I haven't got education. I haven't got work. But you're a human being. And you know what you've got? You've got in your hand the power to use your vote and to use even those few cents you get from welfare to spend them only where you want to spend them.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let me read off of our message board. Service maintains Ledroit Services sends greetings from Canada. Rev, I'm a member of NAN and following your activities very closely. I'm with the Black Class Action Secretariat fighting for the rights of Black workers. I know about the Black Class Worker Secretariat up in Canada. In fact, last time I believe it was in Toronto, I had a meeting with some of the leadership, and I'm glad you sent me that message. In all this touring around August 28th, we need to also go into Canada and get some of them to come down, since President Trump's trying to colonize them in the name of making them a state. Let's go to Deborah in Atlanta, WAOK. Deborah, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Yeah, she's not on the board. You may have to refresh.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, let me go to Ruth in Atlanta then. Ruth, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C. Right, WAOK in Atlanta.
Yes, sir. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. I called to tell you, I forgot to tell you about your robe, how to open above the zipper.
Okay.
I put a velvet small black button and it's crochet, around it, and it connects into the other side. So that will keep your zipper from coming open when you're raising your arms, or anything.
Oh, great. All right.
Right. But what else I wanted to tell you, because you got to step into the road, right?
Right.
I don't know if you got it yet. You're supposed to get it today.
Yeah, I haven't gotten it yet. She's sending me a robe. She made me a blessed robe, Antoine, and sending it to me here in New York. So I'm waiting for it.
Well, it's supposed to be there today. That's what the post office said. It's supposed to be there today.
All right.
But I wanted to also tell you Friday, which we pray for you all the time because my husband and I, we have our prayer, single by ourselves. But then before he go to work, his little job that he has, we pray before he goes out. That's every day. We put in a special prayer for you Friday.
Mm.
And when he first mentioned, because we holding each other, holding hands, praying. When he mentioned your name, there was angels all around you. And the Spirit got into me also. And I said, oh my God. I said, Lord, I feel those angels. I feel them. And my husband said, they all around him. He said, I see them. He said, and they're all around him. I said, thank you, God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the special prayer. We put in that special prayer for you. And one other thing that I'm going to get off, because I know you're trying to get everybody that you can. I wanted to let you know also, because God had told me to tell you, when you go out, he wanted, and I wasn't able to get it and send it to you with the robe, but he said for you to get some hand sanitizers. I don't know if you use that or not, but he said get some hand sanitizer and clean your hand before you touch anything while you're out.
Mm-hmm. I do use hand sanitizer. I shake a lot of people's hands, so I use it. You're absolutely right. And let me say, Ruth, to you and your husband, I grew up in Church of God in Christ and then Baptist.
I know.
And I believe in prayer, and I take very seriously when you call, and I'm seriously waiting for this role. And y'all keep praying for me. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Let me go to Leon in Dallas, Texas. Leon, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, that comment you made about what they're doing at the Justice Department, you remember last time we talked, I told you do not underestimate anything that they will do. This is just, affirmation of what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah, and they blatant with it.
Right, and these people are attacking us. And so we have to be able to pivot, just like in a battle. If you're fighting an opponent and he tries to flank you, you got to be able to pivot. You got to be nimble, and you got to pivot, and you got to fight back and neutralize the attack. And then when you get a chance, you got to remove the oppressor. Just like in World War II, the Japanese struck first, the Germans struck first, the Allies finished the fight, and then they eliminated the threat. So we have to be able to pivot nimbly, just as they attack us from whatever different directions they're going to come at us. There's a sports cliche that I wanted to use that I didn't think of when I was talking to you guys last about the network. You don't concede the game before you get off the bus. So when I get a chance to talk to you when you come to Dallas, I'm going to lay things out, and you're going to see the logic and the procedure, and you're going to process it, and you can say, oh, I see what you're talking about. So I'm just waiting on you to,
we working out the tour now. I'm definitely coming through Dallas, and we'll get together. Okay. But thank you for your call. Let me go to David in San Francisco. David.
Oh, howdy, Reverend. Yeah, last time I called, we were talking about the El Salvadoran prison and then privatized El Salvadoran prisons. And so since we've talked, I've looked into it a little bit more, and there are bond rating companies that have talked about privatized prisons for a long time.
Right.
And here in America, there are just so many counties that got suckered into accepting a privatized prison, and the whole reputation of the town gets shot after that. Nobody wants to visit that town anymore because it's like it's based upon a prison, and there's no tourist enlightenment by coming to a privatized prison town. But what makes it worse is, you know what an indulgence is, right? That you can't give somebody a free pass for sin. Well, in the case of privatized prisons, they're basically that the guards are supposed to be thugs instead of redemptive. They're supposed to be punishment instead of, redemption. And so the whole idea that now the town or the county is filled with thugs who work at the privatized prison.
Right.
And they go out of their way to make sure that the prisoners stay there, because the county makes money when the jail is full. And if the privatized prison goes bankrupt, then the town is stuck with a bunch of thugs and no jobs, which can create organized crime.
Right. That's right. And they know this. And they know this, David, and do it anyway. They know the results are going there. Thank you for your call. I hear the music. Got to take my break. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Anyway, who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me, and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustling, or kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of...
Bring you on. Now we're ready for the sermon.
Well, welcome, Reverend Al Sharpton.
I think it's clear where we are. The real question is what we're going to do about it. The only question is whether we going to get up and do what we supposed to do. They never knew what a cell phone was. They took a telegraph machine and a rotary phone and broke down the walls of apartheid. And we're sitting here with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and 2 cell phones in your pocketbook talking about what we gonna do. Something is weak and wrong with us. If we got 17 ways to communicate and they only had one way, yet they could pack out rallies every night. They could shut down bus companies. You got 17 ways, got 4 different cell phones, and can't get 5 Negroes together for a meeting. And we must have the self-respect. This ain't about whether you are militant or moderate. It ain't about what organization you. Do you have enough respect for yourself that you're not going to treat me like this? We built
this country. We shed blood for this country. We put it on our back. You're not going to do that to us in 2025. Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Antoine C. Wright is with me for the whole ride, as he always is kind enough to do on Mondays. Don't forget Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 every Saturday and Sunday. Don't miss a week. And you that are in the New York area or visiting the New York area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally every Saturday morning in Harlem. I'm there 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue, 9 to 11. And I promise you, you won't get a more energetic charge than to be at the Saturday Action Rally. You that are not in the New York area can watch it live on Impact Television, the only national Black-owned gospel network, or you can watch it live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And lastly, don't forget to sign up for the march. You that want to know what can I say to get people to go, I'm sending out every Friday a message, a talking point for you to help get people out. August 28th, March on Wall Street. We must hold the private sector accountable. And that is on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. You go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net or call the number 877-626-4651, 877-626-4651. And you can sign up and we'll send you a talking point message every Friday. Let me go to you, Antoine. Antoine, I had Senator Schumer on Politics Nation Saturday night, and I asked him about this whole question of the vice chair of the party, new vice chair David Hodge, and others saying it's time to run primaries against the older elected officials and let some young blood come in. How do you see that as message as a political strategist? Obviously, Schumer saw it as divisive. And how are you hearing, if any, kind of feedback from the leaders of the party?
Well, Rev, I find it very distraction. I find it a big distraction. I find it self-serving, and I find it an attention-grabbing method by someone who is looking to make headlines, not headway. Thankfully, we have a strong, stern DNC chair who gave him an alternative. You either support our incumbents or you resign your role, and you have to sign the commitment pledge. It did not make a lot of news last week, but the DNC chairman wrote an extraordinary op-ed for Time magazine, and he put in place measures that will give Hogg and others who may try to bark this way, and not just an option, but an alternative. You either with us or against us. Leader Jeffries last Sunday came out on ABC News, George Stephanopoulos show, saying he looks forward to helping every single incumbent because, Rev, the people we need to be fighting against are not the ones that wear the same jersey as us. I get it. Primaries are competitive and they're sexy and they get people riled up, and that's exciting. But when you start talking about taking on, quote unquote, those who do nothing or those who are in safe seats, you know the majority of people who are in safe seats on the Democratic side, there's 62 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, plus or minus a few. There's some women in some quote unquote safe seats. So you're talking about groups who haven't always had a seat at the table, but have traditionally been on the menu who are now in those roles. And they may not be on TV every second. They may not have millions of likes and followers on social media, but darn it, they're doing a very good job in their communities, meeting folks where they are, and they should be rewarded for that. We don't need a young man who ain't never took too many laps around the track field trying to tell who's been effective, who not. That's why we have elections to determine that. And quite frankly, those who are uplifting him and celebrating him within our party are the same ones who love to go around when it's convenient saying, well, we don't want outside groups spending money in our communities. You can't have it both ways.
That's for certain. Thank you for that. Ron in Hamilton Fields, California. Ron Hamilton.
Yes, sir. I've been listening, and a fear came over my mind that we may not be missing something here, that Doge has collected all our private material, maybe taking it off site, and how would they use that material, IRS material, against business, against individuals, can intimidate them without the due process of audits or anything else. Where are we with those people, what they've collected? We don't even know their faces in reality. We don't know their names. Who are they? Are they a mysterious group? Yes. But why don't we have that information? How can they have that power of all the possessions of our records, and yet we cannot claim a due process to protect ourselves from their intrusion, their intimidation when it comes to the records that the government holds, that now Doge holds?
That very interesting. I think you raise a critical point. Thank you for your call. A lot of us do not understand the danger of what Doge is doing with our private information. And now it appears, Antoine, that Elon Musk, who's lost now, I think they're saying over $150 billion, is leaving Washington with his tail between his legs, saying, I got to go save my business. But he's laid off all these people, fired people. And I think he's learned that the institution's going to hold. You cannot do what you want to do to government overnight and everything's going to be just the way you want it.
Well, Rev, I can tell you this. He may have lost 150 some odd billion or $1 million. I can tell you what, that $8 million plus a day that he's getting off the federal government do not compare to the damage he's done to the federal government. And God knows what contracts or agreements or arrangements he's already made to make even more money off the taxpayers when he leaves this role. And secondly, Rev, I am just shocked and surprised not one single lawyer on the Democratic side has not raised the Hatch Act issue, considering he was an employee of the federal government and how politically he was involved and engaged on a regular basis. But I think Musk was very dangerous. I think his efforts are going to continue to be dangerous as long as Donald Trump becomes presidency. Just because the bull leaves the pasture does not mean that those who are still in the pasture are not doing the work that the bull has orchestrated. And I think that's important for us to pay attention. I think the caller's right. We've got to monitor our information. And when we get the majority back, or even now in the minority, the oversight committee in the House needs to know what are they doing with our information that they have gathered from the various agencies, not just the IRS and other agencies where our Social Security numbers and other things have been exposed.
Let me try to get Andre J in here from Chicago. Andre J.
Hey, good afternoon to you, Brother C. Wright and Mr. Sharpton. I'll make it real quick. You know, I was listening to what you say about this Department of Justice and getting rid of Civil Rights Division. And I think it's time for anybody to work on a job that's a part of a union to go and consult with their union chief and their union representative and get something, a contract to protect him from these things here that's going on with this Department of Justice, because Donald Trump has removed the head of EEOC and put his own people there. So whatever your job do to you, it still will be a battle. So it's time to put some, utilize your collective bargaining and talk to the union and tell them, let the union deal with the civil rights, because to me, that's like one of the only resources that you got left to fight against this thing. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your call. I think you're right. Labor is in many ways, Antoine, re-energizing, refocusing. I've been talking a lot with Lee Saunders at AFSCME, who's on our National Action Network board, Randy Weingarten and others. And I think labor is going to be vitally important during this stretch here into the elections in 25 and 26. And quiet as it's kept, Labor is behind a lot of these demonstrations that we're seeing all over the country against what Trump is doing with Doge and other measures that's being proposed even this week in terms of their budget.
Well, Reb, thank God for organized labor, and thankful for those who understand that they have been called for this moment to help the country reorganize and recalibrate because of where we are. Organized labor has got us to where we are, and organized labor will play a key role in taking us to where we need to be.
All right, I hear the music. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, wrote in, listened in, called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Whatever you do, keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.